Hello, everyone. This is your favorite guy, KRS, Kapiel Raaj. So, you guys have requested for literally, I would say, probably for the last 6 months about talking about, the Rahu movie that I made, which is a astrological based movie. Those of you who haven't checked it out, please check it out on YouTube. Just type in Rahu movie or interview of Rahu. Today, what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain this movie to you scene by scene as to why I did certain things, why I shot a certain way, so you can get a better understanding of my ability to portray a certain message to you guys, the audience, and why I did certain things the way they were supposed to be. So we will get started, and I'll just, show you from the very opening scene. So if you look at the logo here, obviously because this movie is about Rahu, the eclipse, I'm like, what better way to start the movie than showing the actual symbol of Rahu with the eclipse? And then when the opening scene starts, as we'll see here, the very first thing you see is umbrella. Rahu is a significator of umbrellas, especially black umbrella. Venus represents white umbrella, but Rahu represents black umbrella. So that was right there, the symbolism of Rahu, which you will find throughout the movie. Including, if you see these independent brushes, these represents Swati nakshatra of Rahu. And here it's just, I wanted to give more of a mystic feeling to the character of, in the movie, my character. So I just used a lonely road. And then if you see these brushes or these old wooded trees, this is also represented by Rahu. Rahu represents woods. And naturally, Rahu, as you know, represents new age technology, like cars, cell phones, internet. So that was also the symbolism there. And if you see, I just made the movie very grayish color coding, because Rahu represents this brownish, gray, smokiness around you. So if you saw this footage originally, it would be like very color contrasty. So I had to do this color correction to show, this brownishness of Rahu.
Perhaps these words gives me the energy to keep on going with my
So
research.
obviously, I wanted to bring my title of the movie
Something draws me
right
these words.
where that major symbolism of Rahu is,
Always calls
which
me
is
here.
woods during twilight. So woods during twilight is this perfect personification of Rahu. This is why many scary movies starts like this, because Rahu is, as you know, represents that fear, that unnecessary fear that we get when we are in a dark basement, when we are, alone somewhere. That fear is not necessarily Saturn as much. It is actually Rahu. Now, this particular scene was actually one of my favorites, because especially the way it was shot and how the clouds were that day, it was so perfect to get that actual film look going. And especially my cameraman was very good with these small tools that I have. And as you see, that cigar tobacco is also Rahu. Some also take Saturn as tobacco, but mainly Rahu is tobacco. So my character here is looking at the cigar, and obviously that's where he hears this voice, and this is where it kind of shows this mysteriousness of the movie. Like, is this real or is this not? Did this person really hear this or not? Is it so I wanted to give that confusion. So see right here, the character of the movie simply just does not know what to think of what just happened. And obviously the cell phone symbolism was there to show that, hey, it's new age technology, it's Rahu. And you'll find these gray themes
Vijay?
throughout the movie.
It's me, Sunil.
Like I don't think there's a single
Do you
scene
think I
where
can
I
see you
have
right
put
now?
like
for
bright
10
colors in.
Well, no. It's not. There's no emergency, but I'm just trying to figure some things out, which I just can't seem to put my head around. And I was just wondering, maybe you can help me, knowing we both have been researching on the same thing throughout our life. So I just thought maybe it would be nice to talk to you. No, absolutely, I can come over to your house. Yeah, I can be there in 15 minutes. Okay, see you then. All right, let's go. That's it. Yeah, I've got to go. Gotta go.
Now, this particular scene, which is during the taken during the sunset time, with the lonely road, also represents Rahu, like big white fields. Big white fields with road is also signified by Rahu. And this is more of a me trying to be all Shyamalan, Shyamalanish.
It could be a fluke. It could be a coincidence.
Now, this particular scene was actually shot in a completely different room versus the other character, the friend who's sitting in the other side. If you know, this particular side is actually my office upstairs. This is my wife's office. This is why you see that Chinese medicine poster in the back. So obviously in editing it doesn't really show any difference because and that was my wife in the coat. She was wearing this jacket and she was just trying to walk around and show the fact that it was me in front of it, so it worked out pretty well. She also did the camera work in this scene.
Here I am now, trapped into this energy, and I'm just trying to figure out why
Now obviously I didn't have much of great lights in this movie, because the lights that I really wanted were very, very expensive to get. Literally, a good light that will give you a great, film look will cost anywhere around $700 to $800. So finally, I was able to get one for my Ketu movie. Now, in this scene, this particular conversation is something which I took from my own real life experience. And I'll show you, or I'll tell you exactly when I actually, took the things that really happened to me and I put it into the movie.
Tap into and perhaps even clear all these things that I'm going through right now.
And you said the same thing has been happening to you for the past 4 days.
Same thing. Every morning I go to these woods that kind of call me. It's this energy that draws me into these woods. And somehow I always tend to find these items that Rahu represents. Not to mention the wood themselves. And today, I'm observing this cigar, looking at it, and suddenly I hear a voice.
Now, obviously, this particular scene where you see, it was shot like literally 2 weeks apart because I had to get a haircut to make sure that I look quite different from the original
There's
character.
something within me that wanted to go deep, that wanted to go in, to know what is this? Is this craziness? Is this, am I going insane, or is this something real?
By the way, how far are you in your book on Rahu?
Actually, I'll be finished by the book tonight.
No shit.
Yes, sir. It's gonna be finished tonight.
After 18.
See, I said the dialogue 18 months, which is supposed to signify 18 years of Rahu Dasha. So, again,
And you
a
promise you
little
won't take it
symbolism.
personal? Because this is simply from a astropsychologist client to a astro genius friend. Did you stop taking your medication?
Yes, I did. But as you can see, I can clearly function in the society. This is why I called it. This is why I wanted to make sure I'm not going crazy. This is why I want to make sure that this is not something, that is just in my head and not actually happening out there. I mean, come on, Vijay. If I was the crazy one, then I would be in the middle of the woods naked, being picked up by the highway patrol and being in the 6 o'clock news. But that's not the case. I know what is up here.
By the way, how's Laura and the kids? How are they handling this?
Well, kids are at Laura's mother with Laura.
Did you guys separate?
No. It's nothing like that. I actually insisted that they go to their grandmother, spend some time there, and this way I can actually have some alone time and, finish my book and review the book. But it's nothing like that. She actually wanted to stay back. And I'm like, no. Go. You haven't gone there, for God knows how long. Spend some time with your mother while I can, just finish my book. And she understands. She knows that whenever I'm about to finish a book, I need to really just get into it, that I need distractions.
So Neil, Rahu is one of the causes of
See, in this particular dialogue, my character is now trying to create this confusion, for the audience that, hey, is this guy really crazy? Is he really schizophrenic and seeing these things? Or is something really happening? Which obviously adds a much more interesting fact or interesting things, because Rahu also represents, psychosis and schizophrenia.
In the nakshatra of Mula, 3 degrees away from your moon. Not to mention your birth moon itself is transiting today in the 8th house in the nakshatra of Mula. There could something.
And again, I'm making it more complicated because of the fact showing this guy's horoscope, where moon is in the 8th house, influenced by Rahu. So you can definitely have supernatural activities, and you can definitely, have complete delusion.
4 days ago, which according to you was the most intense you've had so far in a long time.
It stopped for a while. I mean, I was going to the university giving my lectures, but then suddenly, just this one night, 4 days ago, I have the most severe sleep paralysis. I mean, I knew I was awake. And here I was being dragged away from my bed towards this energy. And I forced myself to look at this thing. And there I saw this blurred black figure, this tall figure with a long face.
Now, this particular story here is actually very real. I had such a severe sleep paralysis where I was actually really shifted from my bed. And if you see that eclipse of Rahu, that's also symbolism of my painting that I brought in. But I did see this very blurred figure, tall, with long face, long mouth, when I was with my mom living back in 2013. And it was so severe of a paralysis. I don't think it was a paralysis. It was something different. Something happened to me where I actually left my mom's house. I couldn't be in that house anymore. I was so fearful of what I experienced. And I actually have made a video on it, because I moved out literally in May, and I made a video literally 2 weeks later as to why I moved out. So I explained it on my YouTube channel as well. So the character of Rahu that you see in this movie, towards the end of the movie, that is exactly what I witnessed from my however big my eyes could open during my paralysis or whatever that was. That's exactly what I saw, standing literally 7 feet tall. And yes, Yash was with me in the room. He was sleeping, but I was shifted.
It somehow has activated your birth Rahu. And so Neil, your Rahu is in the 8th house with moon. That's really not helping. I mean, you know it for yourself. If somebody's 5th house is bad, they start gambling, their children will suffer.
And this particular analysis is very true. When you activate a certain house through an activity, it will give some result to that house. So like your 5th house is your children, education, and gambling. And certain things are considered good, certain things are considered bad in Jyotish. So whenever you gamble, whenever you go into stock market yourself and start investing, doing day trading, going to Vegas and slot machines, it'll somehow affect your house, whether it's education of your children, or whatever it is, it'll affect, or maybe your education will suffer while you're trying to gamble.
Some possibility that this energy of Rahu might be real.
So that's the symbolism of my painting, which I did, that you always see in my videos sometimes, of this moon being eclipsed. And I just really like this shot, so I just wanted to add in. And this is the sunset time, just symbolism of night happening. And this is again grayish field, which represents Rahu, wide open grayish fields. And then you see garlic there. And garlic is represented by Rahu. You see egg yolk, that is also Rahu. You see meat. Meat is also Rahu. And you see medicines there. Medicine is also Rahu. And I just wanted to give this type of a scene because I wanted to show that this guy is, very much a loner. Doesn't really care about his surroundings. Just is all about his book, his research on Rahu. And then you see me drinking scotch, which is obviously one of my favorite things to do, but that also alcohol is represented by Rahu. Addiction, alcohol, drugs. And there you see my cat Fatty. And that cat is also represented by Rahu. He did very well. One take. I put him up there and I started putting the camera on the dolly. And he did meow in one take. And as you see, midnight hour is also symbolized by Rahu. Now this is actually my wife opening the room. I wish I had better lighting here, because especially doing like color grading, it darkens the footage. I mean, this footage originally is very, very light. But once I make my Ketu movie, what I might do, I might combine both movies together and re-release it. Like this Rahu figure that you saw, it was actually in pretty good lighting here. But again, when you're strained for budget, you do the best you can. But what you see here of Rahu is exactly what I experienced in my sleep paralysis. That's how I came up with this image of Rahu. And one thing I want to say, a lot of people who watched this movie, I mean, they were like, oh, Rahu doesn't have a head. And how come he has a head now? I mean, first of all, it really just bothers me that people's creativity and imagination cannot really appreciate, certain things, certain artistry in a movie. They expect these like Indian TV serials where you see these guys with big mustaches and these scary eyebrows. And it should be one of those guys as Rahu with no body, and then they will understand it's Rahu. No, you gotta go sometimes beyond your own creativity and imagination, and put forth an effort as to why this person did that. This is more of a mystical image of Rahu, of how Rahu. This is my image of Rahu. This is what I always felt Rahu was. Rahu is. And if you really look at it in this movie, I talk about the dialogue where in divisional charts, in higher divisional charts, D45, D60, D30, D24, Rahu, Ketu are actually in 1. So the higher you go up in dimensions, which is beyond the physical dimension, they're actually one figure. This is why I used this figure. And I just didn't want to do any cheesy effect of just a head showing up as a Rahu. I mean, you guys, some of you guys have to really go beyond your imagination and really understand how cinematic art history worked. Because I had so many people in the original movie comment early on, like, oh, this is not how Rahu looks like. Well, even you don't know what Rahu looks like. It's like I want to do a painting of Parashara, Rishi Parashara. When you see Parashara or Bhrigu, like these old men in their 80s, 90s with white hair sitting and then, giving somebody an ashirvad, this is not how they were. A Parashara is actually like a 35, 34-year-old person, normal clothes, you know, very neat and clean person, probably long hair, beard, black beard, but a young person.
Manifest and do as many shapes, sizes as I want.
So why do you come now?
Now, in this particular movie, I also discuss things related to Drap Yug, ending of Kal Yug. Well, there are many people who say, well, Kal Yug is 455,000 years. Then there's people who are actually said, especially I believe Sri Yukteswar, David Frawley, figured out that each period, each Yug is 2,000 years itself. And because especially it ended in 2012, when the Mayan calendar ended, do you realize that Krishna gave a period of 5,600 and semi days for the start of the golden age? Do you know what that time was? It was actually February of 2013.
Why does everybody think
3 months before that 2012 big mayhem that everybody was talking about. And since that period, you have noticed so many spiritual knowledge is coming out, astrological knowledge is coming out, meditation knowledge is coming out. I mean, this is the start of the golden age. This is why we're understanding astrology so deep. And because the Rahu movie is made in this particular era, you never know Rahu could be this exact same image. And it's coming through me that, hey, tell people about who I am. Maybe you can take this as your own imagination, but this is who I am. And this is the particular scene and conversation where I have to thank Dr. Urgent Pai, because he's the one who gave me all the notes and all the details on who Rahu was, who his mother is, who his guru is, how he came to be. And then I just had to add some of my own, zest in it. But for all the people who are talking about, what is this Drap Yug? Drap Yug has begun since 2013. It's a transition period. It'll be like, maybe I would say, a 50 to 100 year transition period where things will still look chaotic, but through that chaos, things will come. People will say, well, how come, we have Donald Trump as our president and doing this and that? No, he is part of this spiritual plan. We just don't understand it. We as human beings are very stupid. Just remember that. We get influenced by everything: news, television, movies, books, articles. Everything influences us. Nothing is original, nothing is pure. So please know that we as human beings are not the most intelligent beings right now. We think we are, we're not.
Of immortality. So I managed to be among the gods, and sat between your beloved Surya and Chandra.
Now, obviously, I also have to apologize for the voice. The effects that I wanted to do, I didn't really understand those effects. Maybe a month later, when you guys said you couldn't understand the voice of Rahu, that's why I put subtitles on the original version, and I say, hey, activate those subtitles so you on your YouTube icon, so you can see what exactly Rahu is saying. So, it was my first attempt in a long time to make a short movie again. And literally, this was a crew of like 3 people, maximum 4 people. Because I had the artist who did this Saturn in the background and the rocket you see on the right, he's actually doing the camera work for me. And he bought his own cousin to help me out in some of the scenes as well. So, because otherwise it costs too much. Like a good cameraman, somebody who's been doing camera work, will literally charge me around $2,000 just for like 2 or 3 days of work. Now I can probably do that, but for this movie I had to just really scrape by. So when my Ketu movie is made, you guys will see a lot of improvement.
What is it that you truly represent?
Not some of these silly mistakes that I've made in this movie and through editing. But you'll see a lot more improvement. And yes, I am working on the Ketu movie. The Ketu movie should be out in 2018. I am pretty much in the middle of writing the script. Once the script is done, you know, everything else then will just fall into place as it always has. But this is my way of showing you guys and making you understand astrology, making you fall in love with astrology.
I am not a creature of Brahma, designed
So,
in your world.
you know, I think that is only my purpose here. My purpose isn't to become some next genius astrologer guru. You know, I don't think that's my purpose. I think my purpose was simply to be born on this planet to bring interest in people for astrology, for Vedic astrology. And I will keep doing that until the time allows. Whether it's movie on Ketu, movie on Saturn, movie on Mercury, all these will come. You know, and with your guys' support, it'll be always a big help. I mean, pretty much you guys made this movie possible with getting my books, getting my reports, readings, all these things. They all help in a big way. So obviously, thank you so much, because this movie was possible because of every single person who's watching, whether you hate me, love me, you know, whatever you want to do to me. Thank you.
For this is why, when you refuse temptation, money, wealth, sex, drugs, obsession,
So pretty much here, Rahu kind of talks about who he is, but who he is not.
Will you be back? Will you come back and reign?
And this conversation is really
thank you.
the reason why this conversation is occurring
All
is
that you did regarding
my
early
view of what Rahu thinks of me.
was,
Not as this character, but what really Rahu, the energy that we see, what it thinks of Kapil Raj. That's what I did this. That's why I did this conversation. This is the conversation that I always had, literally since I fell in love with astrology, seriously, and I really started understanding Rahu. I always felt like, what if I did this? Do you think Rahu will like this or not?
Amazing thing is,
So whenever I talk about Rahu, how I put it in a more positive light, and it should be put in a more positive light.
Where did you go? There's so much I need to know.
This is what I imagined my
What about
conversation would
Ketu?
be with Rahu. That, hey, thank you for
How
doing
will I
this
get to know him?
and showing the right path
will I get to see
to the
you again?
people, and showing them the better side of me instead of always being malefic. So this is the end of the movie, and you will see this particular title called The Black Legend, Rise of Rahu. I'm also working on this novel, so it should be coming out within a year or two. Promise. Okay? So thank you guys for watching this movie and trying to understand it better from my perspective. Thank you.